Yo, thanks for the resub, by the way. Okay. Pop this up. I don't know where this is going. I'll move this over here. Oh man, the Nerf gun. It's real life. Um, this here. Dude, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Actually, I think you did a pretty good job with the water. Maybe it's coming off a little bit like oil, but I think the reason it's kind of coming off like oil is because of um, the kind of dusty griminess that's happening on the plastic. Because the plastic on Nerf guns doesn't really collect all that much kind of dust, as far as I can tell, and it's pretty. It's not too reflective either, which will give you a lot more room for the separation with the water, right? But either way, it looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, I got my little monitor here, which is good. Cool. Let me know if you guys can't hear me because I'm moving the mic a little bit. But this is pretty rad. I like the colors. It's I would say it's pretty. You have to be really understanding PBR in order to get this type of saturation without it looking strange. Pretty sick though. Slayer, Casey the Slayer. That's your name now. So let's see what else we can look at in here. I think the other thing I really like about this model specifically is the scratches in it. If I go down here, this angle is a little. I've always thought this was weird that I know that it makes sense that it's down here and it's facing flat so that you can pull on it. Hey, thanks for the sub, man. But then when you get the side view, it's just not as appealing, you know. But maybe it's supposed to be pretty nondescript. Who knows? But ooh, you know, I really like videos like this. I think if you wanted to turn it up just a little bit more, you'd have it. You would make it 10 seconds long and then have it go back to where it was. That way, it's just this really clean, like high res looking loop. Very similar to a GIF, right? Just really nice. Ooh. It's my kung fu GIF. Um, yeah. No, this looks pretty awesome. All right, let's I'm just gonna bring this over here because I don't know what window it'll open on. All right, cool. So Yuri, is it Yuri Mota? This looks pretty cool, man. I think when it comes down to this one, the what really will make this shine because your modeling looks pretty good. It's the way that the materials are responding to the lighting, right? So the metal looks pretty shiny, and maybe let's see if there's any reference because I would say that this is really shiny when I would expect it to maybe be um there's no reference in here, maybe be less so. It depends how like realistic you're going for. Visual, how you doing? uh oh, it's cool you're in here as well, Mota. I mean, I guess it would make sense that you're here. That'd be weird. You're like, yeah, I'm just gonna submit to critiques, but I won't be in the stream or anything. But yeah, I would say like it's this material is just being pushed really hard in that variation because like you know I'm always talking about roughness variation and trying to make sure that you've got a range of materials going for your asset in order to get that breakup. Like you see that really well actually in the Nerf gun, where there's different types of materials, and by adding the water on there, you get a little bit more of a change in the surface. Same with a sticker. But with this one, you're adding so much variation in a single material that it becomes difficult to identify what the material was originally. Was how you doing? Um, and you can use the material difference between the metal and this surface as as the two differences. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it's difficult for me to understand what if this is paint or if this is metal or if it's metal with like a glaze over it. But then it got more reflective. Like I don't know what the material is the only thing I would say. The rest of the asset looks pretty good. It's just really shiny, and I don't know what that is. Like especially when you look at the material up top here is quite diffused. Like up here. This just feels out of place when you, especially when you see it against this one. It's plastic, okay. Yeah, because I feel like look at the PBR values for roughness on plastic, and I don't know if you're. This looks like it's just a marmoset tool bag. I don't know if there's detail normals that you can apply in marmoset tool bag, but if it's plastic, you can add a detail normal surface that allows for like really displaying that the surface type oiled plastic. It's the theme of the evening. Shouldn't it be? What do you mean bakelite? Backlit? I mean, the only other thing I think I could comment on this is it would be nice to have some type of a ground base to it, so that it was grounded. Like I'm imagining there's two renders here, and you're shopping them together. I would actually place the telephone twice and then on a plane. That way you get the contact shadows and you get a little bit more of the connection. I think that'll be more visually engaging. This area right here feels real nice though. Yo, is it Peter? How's it going? I think that's how I say your name. Pretty cool though. Pretty cool. Bofu. Oh yes, I saw this in critiques the other day. So this one's pretty cool. I think there was. I think the version I saw before, the bloody handprint looked better. Like it was more visually representative, right? Because with this type of detail normal under the blood feels like it's not being affected, or it's not affecting the surface at all. Like it's a very, very thin layer of blood. And then also there's a different roughness value that you would expect with blood, but they're actually quite similar here. Whereas like the blood floating around up here is really good. When you look at planets as well, I would say that it might be worth looking at the edge of this and seeing if you can really get that kind of soft edge of the atmosphere happening there. And then if I don't know if you want that to be Earth. Oh, Foozle, hey chat, I think it would be. Oh, Bakelite material or older plastic. Ah, Foozle, educating. Yeah, so soft edge in the atmosphere. That's good to know. Bakelite. I didn't know that. Yeah, those sound really poisonous. If I had to guess, it's meant to be Earth-like planet. Okay, because the other thing that I'm noticing is the sun looks like it's over here, or its star is to the right here, and I think it's more natural for us to see it more top right lit, or it just feels better to have it more top right lit. So you get this kind of the darkening is this edge here would be going this way. But overall I think this is pretty strong, and it's just being able to identify, because see at this distance the materials look pretty good, but then when you get really close the normal is quite a bit more intense than you would expect it to be. And you have a lot of stuff floating over here. Weighting wise, like in this composition it makes sense, but I think maybe if there was maybe one of these packs floating like right off of the edge here, or just something, I know you don't want to block the planet. That's kind of like the other prop, right? So, but yeah, just my thoughts on it. I would probably half the strength of this normal, or maybe even lower. But pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, we got Eric. Eric says, "Hey Jeremy, this is an American Revolution era, late 1700s warehouse scene that is only really finished to about 80%. I think it's a little boring, and I was wondering if you had any ideas for making it more interesting overall. Right now, it feels like just a warehouse, and I'm struggling with the storytelling elements. Am I better off with a new concept that's a little bit more compelling? Thanks in advance. Let's take a look here. There's a couple images as well, so let's pop that one out. There we go. Okay, so let's actually, yeah, there we go. Maybe I'll just copy it and bring it into Photoshop. So first, let's look at the levels really quickly. So you've got some, like, if I invert this, actually let's give ourselves a yellow. I saw you guys using this in critiques earlier. I was like, oh, nice, very good. So I'm gonna double click this layer and then just pull the black value up, and you'll see this is basically where there's very little to no information happening. So getting information in there is going to be really important for the overall image, just so that way when you try and adapt or adjust the levels, you can get it to do something. Because see, there's just no information in there, and so like no matter how bright you make it, you have nothing to play with in those pixels. But yeah, so if we look at this image overall, and I'll bring the levels up a little bit, and we'll crank that up. So right now everything looks like it's using kind of the same wood material. So that's a way to break up the monotony, or the, what's up, Gene? How you doing? Or Jean Pierre. That's a good way to break up and make the scene more natural, is to source the wood technically from somewhere else, right? So maybe this wood pattern here is from a different location than the wood that these barrels were made in. Maybe these were built in a different region of the city or the country, or an entirely different continent, right? The other thing to note is if you go into, like, if you do Control Shift U, you can go into a black and white. I'm sure there's a command for doing that and then undoing it. You'll see that all of your materials are very similar in value, minus like the shelf here, for example. Looks like it might be a little bit of a lighter material, but being able to separate those elements out a little bit more and darken them where you want them darker, or like connecting detail, will help make the scene more interesting as well. So like, for example, like the wood grain on this is really dark, right? And if that dark part of the wood grain is actually brought up to be a bit lighter, then all of the wood materials would actually pop a little bit further from the wall and kind of give you more separation in the scene overall. And then when you look at these types of areas, these are just asking for some type of information to happen there, you know? I don't think I have any magical brushes since I reformatted. Sad days, man. Having to start over. I didn't save. I don't usually grab too many unique brushes, so it's all right. But let's see if we can't. It's like just adding some type of breakup like this, that'll go a long way for adding some interest to your scene, right? As you can see, it's very subtle. Hey, Nimlot. Hey, man. Hey, Nimlot. How you doing? Thanks for the raid. Hope your stream was good. We're just doing critiques for the remainder of the stream, so we've got about an hour and 30 minutes to go. And then right after that, actually, War Dog is going to be streaming on their channel. We'll raid them, and they'll be doing, as far as I know, they're doing critiques still, and they do a lot of hard surface and weapons. So lots of feedback coming. If you want to get your feedback in, you just go to the Discord, and there's a channel called Stream Critiques. You just post in there, or Stream Critique, I should say. You just post in there, and hopefully we'll get to you. There's already 9 posts, and we're on the like 4th one, so maybe I'll be able to get to you. When it comes to the compellingness of the scene, oh, and I should mention as well, Path of Exile, nice, Nimla. Polygon had mentioned roughness and color are very even throughout. Yeah, so if you were to make these cannons pretty fancy fresh, you know, and the metal is really popping, and the metal on these rings for the barrels is popping out a bit more. Anywhere where there's metal materials, and even a separation between like a wood that's been treated in the in the late 1700s is going to have a certain type of oil treatment to it, right? Yeah, War Dog does amazing stuff. So we'll be raiding them if you guys stick around. So getting that variation in the roughness is going to help add another degree of complexity to the scene and make it not so boring as you're feeling. I think it's mainly those elements. Yeah, and then Polygon's like simple natural storytelling is things like puddles or areas where it's wet. Anywhere where there's a leak. I mean, there's a big hole in the ceiling, right? It's a perfect opportunity to have like some wetness here. I mean, hell, go crazy with building into your master shader a snow material, and then just, you said it's late 1700s, maybe it's late in the year as well. Maybe there's snow coming in through here. And you get a snow here, you get a little bit of snow buildup on the shaders, and you can slide that around. It's lots of ways to tell stories with just what's already there, and everything's very tidy. You could just kind of move stuff around a little bit, make it look like it's half stocked, or maybe like it's being used up rather quickly. That type of feel. The other thing is you could maybe hang something, supplies from above. Yeah, some debris. If this came in and like was from like a cannon shot or something and then destroyed a bunch of stuff, I know it's a lot of work, but there's opportunities for debris on the ground and ways to just kind of change up the way surfaces are working. And do not be afraid of decals. Just go decal crazy if you want to really like connect the elements together, the wood to the brick. How is that all connected, you know? There's not really any so you've got light coming in through this window, but we're not seeing any light. We're not seeing any light here or like here, you know? This is not the right brush for this. Yeah, we're not seeing any light happening here or here and here, and then kind of gradienting off across the ceiling, right? And these are major sources of light for these areas here. So keep that in mind. The windows look pretty clean. Yeah, it is. It's hard to tell if the windows are there or not. I think a lot of the interest you could pull in, and like maybe a complementary color, is going to be bringing colors from the outside environment. So maybe the outside, if it's not snow coming in, maybe the outside's very green, and you know there's just information coming in that's complementing all the colors that are in here already. And there doesn't seem to be AO in that sense. Like these all feel like they're floating, whereas you would expect maybe the core of this area to be much darker. I don't know. Maybe there is AO there. Let me see. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It does look very flat lit for the most part. But yeah. There were 2 other images, but I think we covered most of the stuff I wanted to highlight on that. And see, in this view, you're getting a much more dynamic lighting pass. This one feels flat lit as well, and you're not really feeling the lighting coming into the windows. I definitely get an environment in there because that can add to the color complexity of just like how the lighting is being how the surfaces are being affected by the lighting. Because if you're PBR, right, everything's going to be showing up a bit. Yeah, adding some trees outside could help. I mean, even a tree that you can't explain, but you just see like the branches of it outside. That's going to do a whole lot for the breakup of that space. Pretty cool though. Hopefully that was a lot of information. Hopefully it was useful. Josh, actually, you're next. Hey man, was wondering if you could take a look a bit at this and let me know what you think would be improved in the scene. Still have a lot to do for sure though. Haha. Nervous laugh. All right, here's the concept. I'll let that load. ArtStation's choking today, just FYI. Copy this. We'll paste this. That's not. No? Not gonna let me copy image. I hate it when this happens, man. Can I copy this one? No. All right, we're bringing this over. Oh, nice. No, this is great. This is actually. So here's the concept. Let me see if it'll let me copy this. Cool, thanks. Where did the other one go? No, it doesn't let me copy that. Why is that? That is super weird. Hey, no problem, Eric, and everyone for the feedback. That was good. So I mean, there's a different color tone on the walls, right? It looks like you still need a detail normal on your wall surface. When I look at the foliage up top here, like the herbs or whatever they might be, they look a little solid in the alpha. You might want to really separate out those the leaves or the little branches. It's like when you bring it in like this, and you can see that you compare like that. The other thing is the roughness on the wood maybe isn't matching also well. It might just be the lighting though, or the fact that we're looking at a concept, right? But just trying to match the kind of feeling and mood of the lighting is going to be something to focus on. There does seem to be some like dust and particles that you're going to have to get in here, but when it comes to the wall, it just feels like it's lacking a lot of that texture and the surface grit that you feel in here. There's some shadows that are happening from the plants that are against the wall. It might be worth trying to figure out how to get that to get those shadows casting. And if you can't get that working for whatever technical reasons, I would then paint what looks like a soft shadow of that and just place a decal behind it, because you're going to get that much more like depth and connection between the asset and the wall just by that being there. Yeah, everything seems to be quite grounded in the environment, in the concept. And with yours, it's grounded because I can tell that it's touching the ground, but it's not grounded in the way that the materials like soot and like where things build up and the griminess kind of occurs. The table looks pretty good. The edge of the planks here don't usually have the grain going along it that way, right? They're going to be more of like a how would you say that? You'd be seeing the rings, even if it's like broadcast rings, not like really tiny ones. Like maybe this was cut from a large tree, right? But yeah, you'd be seeing the rings even if they were like this big. The table might be a little high, because then you'd be able to see more of the bowl, and it might be the concept of the perspective. Actually, your table, it's either the table's too low in your scene or the window is too high. And now that I'm looking at it, I think your room might be too tall. Like if you look at the distance between the top of the edge of the window and this wood board and then the one in the concept, those are off a little bit. But then where the window is at versus the bowl, do you know what I mean? If you take the ceiling and just kind of lower it just a little bit, that'd probably help you a lot. Because when I look at the doorway as well, maybe the doorway feels a little taller than it needs to be. Yeah. And you're missing a lot of these like little micro shadows that are happening, that kind of like ambient shadows that kind of ground everything to the surface of the wall. I would probably tone down the red of this. It doesn't really come through in the concept. Fire feels pretty good. Man, the concepts are weird because the perspective can be so strange. You can see the roughness as well on the wood down here. And looking at your wood material, I would probably try and get that cooler color to come in here, because you've got your scene's quite warm. And this one I would say is warm here, but then becomes very muted and then becomes colder down here. What's the ceiling look like? You can see as well as the ceiling gets quite dark up there, and there seems to be a lot of lighting coming upwards currently. Yeah, definitely adding dust particles in there at some point. I mean, they might already be in there and we're just not seeing it because it's still, because it looks like there might be some. You think the lighting is relying too much on skylight, and try working with the directional lights more to achieve the effect. It'll help ground things better with your skylight is much lower intensity. Yeah, because then you're not filling in your shadows with so much brightness, which mutes the shadows out. Yeah, I think you're getting a separation where like the color of this wall or the brightness of this wall, and you see the brightness of this wall, it has like the deeper shadow, this like ambient shadow, and then the wall itself. And right now you have, I think, the shadow on this poly or this face, and then this lighting of this wall. So it's just lacking in the shadow complexity, I think is what's going on. And then just looking at your materials and then working on decals. But I think right now what you should probably focus on is just making sure that everything is scaled right, and that the directional lighting is really like helping pop all the shapes from the wall. You can see how like muted it is over here, and the shading behind all the props is not so much happening here. It feels very unlit in a sense. But yeah, cool. Hopefully that was good. Hopefully I can copy the next image. Glenn, lighting assignment. Let's go. That I continue with and made an exterior for. Any feedback would be super helpful. Okay. All right, so I'm not sure if you're going for realistic or stylized. Right now, there's a number of things that are happening that would quickly level up the visuals. If we paste this in here, so right now you've got some green that's quite saturated and very dark. So the saturation on that, let's see if I can. Yeah, it's also super dark. So you're see how, oh, you can't see, hang on. Where's my camera? There we go. So you can see in the range over here, when I'm like sampling these areas, of course it's lit, so it's going to be a little skewed. What you'd want to be doing is sampling these colors with albedo only. And what you want to be doing is watching out for, let's see here. Basically, try and avoid values inside of these ranges. There are some cases where you would go into those ranges, but uh, it's pretty rare in natural lighting or natural colors. So, and like right off of the bat, I can see like, so first you've got too much saturation going on here. If this is, I'm not sure if this is metal or if this is stone. I'm almost positive that the albedo on this is too dark. The color of the lights, that might be okay. It's probably the value of the brick again, or this stonework, and like if you were to take, let's see, if you were to take this brick for example, let's see if we can't fake it a little bit. Like I would expect it to be more around maybe that range in the lighting. It's kind of hard to eyeball this because I don't know what I need to see this without color. I wonder if that's actually in the post. This helps a little bit. To see how much contrast there is between these stones, you're just asking for a lot of busy information in your face, which tends to make stuff really busy or hard to look at for a long period of time. Here it was a little bit better, and you can see those darker ones. If you push those down or push those up in value, they're going to blend into the rest of the stone, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's stone, and then your brain just accepts it. Whereas this one, you're trying to understand like the scale of things. Statue, cool. Oh, that's nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, again with this one, I feel like the material is very noisy. Like maybe so I'm gonna take a guess that the ambient occlusion is filling in these little pits as well. And you want to avoid that type of ambient occlusion. You want to do like some of the broader like macro ambient occlusion pass when you're making materials like that. Yeah, see, I'm seeing a lot of dark. There's a lot of darker values in here, and a lot of noise on the surfaces that maybe can be brought in with detail normals and then controlled in strength in the shader itself. What was the other thing I wanted to say? This brick is very light compared to everything else, and it just feels like all the materials need to be unified a bit more in value. And then the ground is very simple, whereas you would expect maybe like either extra props, like what are they, candle stands, or seats, or thinking about what this space is. Like, do people even sit in here? If they do, how does the seating work? That type of stuff, right? Where's the walkway? Where's the seating go? Is this area supposed to be elevated? Maybe there's supposed to be stairs here. Usually this area is elevated more, right? And then the opportunity with the windows being open and light being able to cast through. Yeah, so you have it up here as well. And it looks like you've got some dripping water also. Is there a video of that? I would definitely see if you can get a video of this into your ArtStation. But yeah, pay attention to your albedo value and saturation, and then look at your roughness, and then any ways to break up your surfaces, as well as just the logic of the space. I think that's the best advice I can give for this, Glenn. Cool. Let's keep on. Thanks for sharing as well, dude. And thanks for being a supporter also. Just a latte, awesome, thanks. That's your username? I love it. You're not just a latte, you're Glenn Pierce the latte. All right, so we got Omar. Hey, this is just an idolized everyday life scene in a French Renaissance castle somewhere around 1500s. Want to get some feedback on lighting, composition mostly, but anything else is also great. Thanks. Let's check it out. Oh, okay. Oh, this is pretty cool. So the camera's really close. I feel like maybe the camera could go back a little bit further. That way you get to appreciate the path that's happening at the bottom, like the little pathway into the castle. Yeah, it just feels like it's a little, let me see if I can get this in here. Just gonna make it a bit smaller. Does look nice. Yeah, I expect maybe about that far back, and then you would be you'd continue your grass past there, and then you'd have your road, right? And then you have your other road going this way. That way you actually can appreciate and see it, you know. And then there's all this grass here, but this could be a clearing, right? So this could be anything. And then you have your trees to the side. Maybe there's another tree here. But the thing that I want to make sure that we highlight is that it just feels really cropped in. It feels like the camera's really close, and compositionally it's just really like, it's kind of cramped in there. The camera is also kind of an odd height. It's like at the height of this floor. Like someone looking in is maybe eye level, or someone looking out at you is maybe eye level with you. Use the rule of thirds. Yes, 100%. 100% use the rule of thirds. It's like if we do this, I just scale that, and then we do I don't even know how you bring it up in here, but if you go to scale this, you can see like your rule of thirds is not really pointing to anything, where it's, you would expect to, maybe this doorway, if it was more focused here, or a tower was sitting on that line. I would say moving the camera back and then having a more like, you can really appreciate the structure or the scale of the structure for that time period if the camera is lower looking up at it, because then it becomes much larger. Yeah, rule of thirds is raises totally on point. Lack of foreground elements as well. Yeah, see, like if you were able to make the castle something like this, see, now this is sitting somewhere over here. Now the focus is this spot here, right? And then you have all of this outside opportunity out here to put like mountain ranges or something back there, right, to support the clouds. And this is just talking on the composition. If we look at the trees are feeling very low poly right now, and I think it's because you're trying to simulate a lot with very little. You just have to, like, I would say all of this branch could just be one plane, right, that maybe has a curve to it, and then that is placed strategically throughout the tree, along with a few others based on like the positioning of the, like lower down the tree, there's going to be older, more dead branches that have like seen things, you know, and then further up you're going to have younger ones, more green, less decay. There's a composition of how trees look depending on the type of tree, but yeah, right now this tree doesn't feel like it's doing so well, like health wise. You can see it back here as well. It's very thin. And with that said, I mean, I wouldn't even be afraid to try adding double the amount of branches to just see how it looks. You want it to be a bit thicker, but definitely look at references. That'll tell you a whole lot. Your grass is very neon, so albedo wise, it's probably a little out there. There's some conflicting colors over here. Are these trees as well? Because I think actually this color of leaves is more like friendly with the palette that you see in the overall image, and thus, like, if these trees were closer into that palette, I think you'd be enjoying the image a little bit more. Yeah, what else are we looking at here? The rooftop areas are very shiny, and I would look at what you can do to break that up so it's not so clean and reflective. It looks like you're doing it a bit here, and it's just some more variety and some logic behind, like, if this is like a metal, maybe there's a bit of rusting type of, or like discoloring that's dripping off of that down the sides. Not just the trees. The castle could use some higher density with bevels. And yeah, don't be scared to bevel. You can bevel literally everything. And you'd probably be all right. You could probably ship something like that. It does remind me a bit of Shrek as well, yeah. But yeah, don't be afraid to add geometry. Like the shapes of this window feel like you're limiting yourself based off of geometry and not architectural design, right? Yeah, and especially if it's a portfolio piece, don't be afraid to increase poly count. You're going for like beauty, right? Your portfolio should be full of art, not like this can be game ready. It's important that your portfolio shows you can be game ready, but as long as that's checked off in one or two pieces, the rest you can, just say it in the description. The goal of this was to make something beautiful, not to try and make it run real time or anything like that. But yeah, hopefully that was good. We'll keep moving here because we've got more messages still. Philip B, hey, would love some feedback on this piece. I'm not 100% sure about the vegetation around the entrance at the moment. Haven't started adding too much detail to the interiors yet. Oh man, this is pretty cool, man. The scale is crazy. Let's see here. Hey, Omar, thank you for submitting your piece. I would say that's probably one of the hardest parts when you start getting into 3D is putting yourself out there, putting your art out there, and letting people talk about what you need to do better. You know what I mean? Even today, I think I struggle with that stuff sometimes because you get really connected to what you're doing. So we're getting some disconnects in here with the shadows. I think if there was more branching or like understanding of like how these all connect, that would go a whole lot of the ways there for you. So just getting some logic in your leaves. And then the table and the chairs are very close to the color of the wall. And I totally get that. I think that if that's going to be the case, I would maybe make the top of the table white, or maybe like thicken the elements of these just so that it sticks out more. Scale wise, this place is, man, I swear I've walked by a place like this in Sweden. I swear. It just has that feeling to it, you know? Like you've got the little seats out here. That's great. With the little coffee cups. No shame. Hey, dude, I downloaded it, Pontus. We're going to talk about it near the end of the stream, so don't you worry. But yeah, it's really weird seeing the scale of this, because the like design wise, I like this stuff, the foliage going around here. Yeah, the wall material definitely chef's kiss for sure. Dude, is it Raz? R Raz? Dude, I'm liking you, man. You have a good eye for things. See, it feels like a mini bicycle. The door handle tells me that it feels a little small as well. And then but then these are small too. So I don't know if like how accurate the scale is of this door to the props out front. So keep that in mind. Also, this text here feels very very high for viewing while you're walking down the street. I almost feel like you'd expect to see it down here. You know? I wonder if I can... Is this doable? I don't think so. Let's see. I always forget the freaking thing for it. Is it Shift F5? No. Control backspace? No. Control Shift backspace? No. I want content aware fill. Come on, give me. But yeah, like a shop can be this tall. That's totally fine. But I think it's... Hey, well, how you doing, man? And dude, thanks for the resub. But like, I feel like the logo being down here grounds it more with the viewer, right? Dude, it definitely has a Swedish touch to it. Definitely has Swedish touch to it. I would probably do less of these breaks. Like remove every other one. And maybe make 1, 2 like this. Just so that you get some breakup. It's enter? No, really? Is it? I thought it was like Control Shift. There it is. Shift F5. Yeah, it's Shift F5. So if you go in and grab this, let's take that. We'll just move it down here. We'll just erase this stuff here. I just want to see if this is gonna, how nicely this is gonna work, because usually it can be really hit or miss. So Shift F5. Content aware. Not bad. That's disturbing. There's a little bit of artifacting going on down here. But then we can put this here, right? You can just wipe out all the... Oh. Anywho, I think you get the idea. I think if it was lower, it would feel better. Photoshop is everything. Nothing is real anymore. Dude, video editing has gotten crazy as well. I would try and explain how this foliage is growing like this. If there were some areas where it was a little patchy, just so that you can see that it's like attached to some type of scaffolding, I think that would be really nice. And maybe take a few of these leaves and put them in little spots down here. Some of the flowers maybe as well, you know? Get those in there, I think you'd be good. Yeah, Shift F5. But cool. This is really nice. And then look at your shadows for these trees. They just feel a little... I mean, they could almost just be blurrier. That's a good one, Pontus. Adding one of those wall drain pipes. That's a thing you see here from time to time. Why? What? Weird. Couldn't delete it. All right, let's keep on going. Hi, I started working on some videos for an environment you critiqued last time. It's still pretty early in the videos, so I need to clean up the environment a little more. Is the general camera movement all right? Is the focal lengths fine? Is strong depth of field a good thing? You know, in my video, I felt like there was too much depth of field in a lot of cases, or in a few spots. So okay, let's look at camera movement. So we'll just hit spacebar here. So right off of the bat, it's like looking down and then it like wiggles up. I would do that as one smooth motion. Try not to do too much in one shot. This is interesting with the varied speeds and kind of, there's a bit of a camera wobble as well. Was that the video or was that? There's a pop there, right here. Pop. I don't know if that's the depth of field or the camera like shutters forward a little bit. So when you go to look up over here, you don't give us enough time to look at what you're looking at. Because you have to think about it. Think about it as if the camera is you and you're doing something. Like you're walking, you're looking at the ground, and then you're like, oh, what's that? And you look up, and then it switches immediately. So you didn't actually have time for your brain to register what you were going to look at. Yeah, dig the style. Dude, the foliage in the back looks really nice. There's some nice distance and depth in the back there. I think with these shots, you need to be telling a story. I'm not sure where we're going. Like, here it's pretty clear. Okay, we're on a path. Okay, now we're looking somewhere. Okay. We have a connection to the flag here. That was also here. And the cart. Framing wise, the cart goes from here to here. So it might be worth framing it more so that you're able to connect the two shots better. This shot right here is almost completely separated from the rest of the scenes. And I know that shot's only there to show those boxes. That's the only reason that shot is there. So I wouldn't even have this shot unless it's adding to the overall image or the overall video. See, I almost feel like you could start with something along the lines of this shot where you're looking down this path. It's weird, man. I don't know. You got to give us something specific, I guess. The depth of field I don't think is too strong. Every shot seems to be kind of doing the same thing where you're looking one area and then looking to the next. Try really hard to, once you get the camera moving, to not slow down. And if you do change directions with the movement, don't change the directions where you're going left to right and then all of a sudden right to left. Go left to right and then maybe like from that position up and then maybe to the side. You know what I mean? So it flows with the camera movements from shot to shot instead of like it going, I'm up here and now I'm down here, but I'm going this way. I'm not saying you're doing that all that much, but it's just watch out for those. Is there anything which stands off? Is there anything which stands off, like looks strange? Any good advice on videos for ArtStation? Good advice, keep it under a minute. If you have a pro account, it'll upload to ArtStation. If it's over a minute, it won't. If you've got space in that 1 minute to show an intro and a outro, like a title and a credit of some sort, I would put that in the video. But I wouldn't say it's required. Yeah, if the boxes weren't so alone, I feel like that might be a little better. The boxes are very stylized compared to everything else. Everything else feels a little bit more on the realistic side. I mean, even the cart, except for once you get close enough to the cart, it looks stylized as well. It's like the bolts on these boxes are bigger than the cart bolts, which is strange as also. Yeah, and definitely add stills. Definitely add stills. Uh, poke in the Discord though if you need more feedback. Hitchem, you're gonna check out this material. What are your thoughts on it? Let's see. So it's very washed with the background, if that makes sense. I wonder if there's a. Can I do like object selection? Is this gonna work? Is it gonna crash? Oh my god, look at that. That's amazing. Oh man, the most recent Photoshop's kind of crazy. Let me just try and select this one too. What? That does a pretty good job. There's a little bit of an error up here. Can I just deselect? Oh my god. All right, hang on here. Okay, so I've separated out these guys. Jesus. That's hilarious. That's kind of painful. I feel like the better they get with Photoshop, the more I've lost parts of my life. There's a few more spots here that are kind of breaking. Let me just try and grab those. Wow, that's ridiculous. I don't even know how to feel about that. Okay, so the reason I wanted to separate those is if you bring these out on their own, these materials, that is kind of freaky. Gee, that's funny, man. So when you look at these on their own against a black background, which I highly advise, never have just a pure black background. I just want to illustrate the levels in here. So you can see like right now your materials are quite washed. And they have a pretty good highlight in them. We're not spiking too much of the pixels into the white range. You know, bring this back. Yeah, see, this is okay. So relatively speaking, when we leveled these out, we didn't lose too much information. You see in here, it starts to go away. But those materials look really nice now, in my opinion, by comparison of these. So you can see now they're already separated from the background. It is a little strange how they're lit. Right now you've got a warm light here and a non-colored light. It almost feels like a white light on this side. I would suggest maybe making this one a cooler color of this light source, and maybe putting a more focusing on like you want to have your, let's see here, your warm light up here, and then your cooler light, which, yeah, see, it's still kind of warm. Your cooler light down here, it's still a little down in this area, and that'll give you a really nice pop. Feels like it needs to be greener. Interesting. Yeah, it does feel, it's quite warm, right? Like the moss is, I think it's okay though. I think it's okay. It's the background. Like right now you've got this top edge and this bottom edge, and you see this bottom edge here is not touching the cylinder, whereas this one passes it just a little bit. This would be what we would call a tangent. So what I would actually suggest doing is going in and really just committing to the tangent, or committing to the crop, so that there's no tangent. So let's take the background, let's bring it up in value so it's not black, and then let's take this background range and just kind of push it down. Now you've got something that looks a little bit more engaging, I think, but it's not I don't know. I bet you could take this material, Oops, I just made it CMYK. There we go. Let's scale this up. Do something like this. And then we'll just blur, Gaussian blur. Something like that. But then lower it all the way down and then bring it back up just so there's information in there. You see that? Maybe we can select this. Let's make this black. We'll remove this image. And then we'll just bring this up so that you get a separation. So there's a line, but you're still getting all the value shifts and all that stuff going in there. So you've got these, right? Let's say we've moved the lights. I would duplicate these spheres. You could do a blur, Gaussian blur. Let's see here. And then do a screen. Let me blur it even further. Gaussian blur. Yeah, and then we do a mask, invert the mask, and then just paint where these highlights are, just really messily, just commit to it, right? And then go back to this layer and just turn it to 0 and then turn it up just enough, and there you go. I think that is more compelling to me and really shows your materials versus like what you had before, which was this one, right? Maybe we should clip this one. I'll strip this one out of the recordings and just throw it on YouTube. But yeah, hopefully that helps. You can see how much more, like, this is really washed. You can see how much more you're getting out of it. Please, YouTube, for sure. I'll do it. Cool. Okay, let's hop to the next one. Shokri. Oh, dude, I remember the scene. Textures usually look really bad and flat. I don't know how to make it more realistic. Yes, I know it's just the base. Basically, what would you do? Here's the concept. All right, here's the concept. We've got 45 minutes, by the way. I remember this image, dude. This is a really cool grab. Okay, so are you planning Shokri, are you in chat, by the way? Yeah, all right, cool. So is the goal to render it in Unreal or to render it in Blender? For now, just in Blender. Okay, so I would try and match the cameras a little bit closer. Right now, the camera on yours, you're tilting the other way, and I was gonna say maybe it's you flip the camera, but you haven't. I would definitely get the camera lower and try and get this doorway to be grand. I think you're just further away from it. You'll quickly realize you probably don't need. For now, it's just okay. It's panned out. Oh, okay. Because I mean, I think once you have that scale, it's really about getting these shapes in, and then just start getting colors on there. They may look like you're saying they may look bad at first, but that's how everything starts. Everything always looks bad at first, and then your artistic eye, your ability to pull it from the looks bad category and drop it in the dopeness category slowly takes over. You know what I mean? But there's a lot going on in here, and I think it's just a matter of building it out. You gotta, like, I think if you put roofs on these, you're all of a sudden gonna get much more solid shapes. You can see, like, even though it is cloth, it's a top, right? And it shades and darkens those areas, making them much more solid. Yeah, it looks bad until that last 10%. And when you're on the when you approach that last 10%, it looks at its worst. And then the last 10% is Photoshop. But yeah, I think start by getting some tops on these. That'll narrow your view. Start building this frame out so that you're looking at start building this frame out so that you can actually match the feeling, right? Because the reality is what you're looking at is this doorway. Let's see. We'll make this I mean, I guess we should make it black, right? But the reality is you have this doorway, right? And then outside of that is everything else. This element here, this piece, is like foreground or background elements, or yeah. So it's really close to you, right? So that's just mainly to crop the shot a little bit more. And then when you look at these other pieces, these pieces here are literally just here to do that. That's all they're there for. Just do a little bit more. We'll get these guys involved. Like, you can join us. I think it's important to really highlight the shapes of these. That way you understand. Because now when you look at it like this, right? And then I guess maybe we highlight the ground as well. And you can see I'm doing it all as one color right now. Don't worry about that. And then we have the building. So you have these elements, then these elements here. We'll just do this. And then you have your ground, which we'll do this. Right? And so focus on those large elements and everything will come together, because you can use those to frame in and basically lock in your composition, and then you can build to that. Once you have that camera locked, it doesn't matter what's outside of it. You don't have to worry about that stuff at all. I think that's going to help immensely. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, you think about it, right? I mean, there's one container here. There's another one here that's pretty open, but bridges the gap between the two, but allows you to see through. And then there's two here, and then there's one you're coming out of. And then the rest is just this facade of a building that everything is kind of being strung to with the wires and stuff and the little hanging bits. If you just focus on those, you'll probably get out of you probably feel stuck right now. Right? Okay. And then get all that stuff detailed out, then add your colors. And you can start with just flat colors. Don't even try and texture. Just do the colors, like colored match, and just move the colors around. Then you'll get excited because you see it happening in front of you, and then you'll start adding texture automatically. Jean, Jean-Pierre, hi, I did this piece. I would like to have a second pass to improve it. Could you help me with some tips? Let's see. Oh man, cool. You should have this thing like drilling a human on like a thing in like a Saw style horrible situation. No? Okay. I think I got dark. My dentist uses one of these. It's because he's got a shaky hand. I think it's just I mean, the asset looks pretty nice. It's very mid value. That'd be cool. I like it. You should have a dentist glove where the dentist just puts his fist near your mouth and there's like 6 of these on his hand, just, doing their thing. Let's grab this close up. This is actually really good. Oh, blind. Cool. Okay. So we zoom in here. This already, I would honestly say, looks pretty good. There's just some dirtiness to the materials that um, needs a maybe a little bit more logic. There's some nice variation in the roughness. There are one or two elements could be like really reflective and maybe even metal. That way you just get some Jeremy's clearly researching horror. Man, I worked on a Saw game. It was rough, but it was fun. It was a good time. Let me see if we can, because it feels like there's almost not a highlight here. Like you can see the highlights happening, but it's just starting to blow out there, and I would say just push it a little further, just a little bit, and then getting that contrast in there, and now all of a sudden, like you see there's so much more pop going on. The other thing is maybe surface wise, it's just not, crunchy enough. When we look at the dust or dirtiness in here, it feels like I don't understand the sense of scale. If there was something here that helped me understand the size of this object, that would be really good. Maybe there is, and I'm not seeing it. The graffiti on it is quite interesting because it doesn't feel damaged enough to have graffiti on it, if that makes sense. Saturation. Yeah, saturation. Let me see here. I mean, you could pop the red a little bit. The other thing I was gonna say is if you take this and you just did like a high pass, you can see where like there's these crisper details. Just do a high pass like that. You zoom in, you'll see those, and then just go in and do like a overlay. And you can see how crunchy it feels now. Probably too far in a lot of cases, but there's some key spots to do it in, and I'm sure you guys have seen me on stream do this a lot. So I just do a black mask on top of this and then paint where I want crispy, crunchy deliciousness, and then the rest can keep its softness. That way it's not overly sharp. And you can see when we turn it on and off, right? There's some sharpening. Look at it in this, like specifically in this belt area, man, it does a lot. It brings those highlights up. So there's those things you can do. I mean, I'm a really big fan of that band that we were doing in the background. So doing something in the background would help. I don't know if it's gonna let me select this object. Oh my god, for reals. I don't think it's gonna grab this though. It's trying. Man, I don't know how I feel about all of this. It's really funny too. It's super selective on like what it does. Cool. So let's just grab this. I'll just paste it above. And again, I mean, you could just scale it up behind it. Do the blur. Find an interesting area. Maybe even do it again. And then turn this off, lower this down, turn that up. And then maybe do that whole box thing again. Just fill that with black and then lower that so you're seeing through it. Just it looks more interesting, I guess. I don't know. I do like the graffiti on it. I would put the graffiti lower to the bottom because then you're really seeing like the elements that are there, and you understand the scale a little bit more. I would maybe I would take another pass on how dirty and scratched up this is to help rationalize the type of graffiti that's on there, right? Because graffiti doesn't just get on there overnight. I mean, I guess it could, but the graffiti with a damaged sticker that damaged, Viral, what's up? How you doing? I would expect to see more scratches, more damage, larger scratches, especially down here. Maybe some like tagging on this, and the tagging would be more along the height of like how high a person can get on the object, right? If they had to climb up here, they're less likely to do it unless it's like always there and they just climb up and, you know, do their spray. Dropping in to see some reviews. Hey, thanks, man. But yeah, just to like to bring it home, I think this could work wonders. The other thing too is in the background, right? It's very it's gray and red at the top and bottom. You could turn it upside down or like rotate it and tilt it a little bit. That way it's not so specific. You might even need to blur it more too because of that. But the upside down was cool because then you get you match this with the red and then this with the gray. The only other option I think is more diagonal. But cool. Let's keep going here. Oh man, I can't say your name. Matya? New scene that I'm working on. Decided to go with a dynamic lighting. This time, but this is only first. So this is the only first lighting pass. I would like to know how I can make the scene more alive. All the foliage was not made by me. Only the color value have been tweaked by me. Okay. I've been using mega scans and kit bashing certain things into the scene. Most of the textures come from there too. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. All right, so I want you to understand the scale of a building, right? Let me just move this out of the way. So the size of the building and like how big that room is, the base of the building and how high the bottom piece is here, how high the bottom of the window is versus the floor on the inside. Understanding those spaces and putting a character inside is really gonna like help you understand the scale of the building. Once you've got that in lock, because right now the shapes of the building feel really odd to me. They don't really feel architecturally sound or logical. Once you have that in place, then I would look at doing things like beveling these edges. Like you have really hard edges here. Everything's pretty low poly looking currently. I don't know what this is. If it's a shed, I'm gonna guess it's a shed, judging by the corrugated metal look on the top. I would probably rotate it so that you can see into it so that there's no question that it's a shed, right? And if that's the case, you're probably going to have to add some stuff inside of it. I would match the grass value and color to the value and color of the ground. Right now, it looks like maybe it's just too light or the ground is too dark. I would say it's probably the ground is too dark. Yeah, what else would I say here? The saturation of the foliage might be okay. Some areas it gets a little too saturated, I'm feeling. But I don't know what time of day, like the sun's quite high up, but it's very muted. So I don't think the brightness or the strength of the light source is very high. Trying to think of what else I could say on this. Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at, I guess, with this currently. If there was maybe a path. There's another image in chat too. What? Oh, there is. Look at that. Yeah, that angle feels a little bit more logic wise, makes more sense. There's a stone here where this goes into here. I can't even comment on the roughness values right now because I think we need the lighting direction to be accurate, like present and having the proper strength. The windows are boarded up down here, but they're also like, are these beams kind of like a prison? The windows down here just feel really tall, right? I don't have a sense of scale. I don't know how big a person is. There's nothing in here that's telling me the size of the space, if that makes sense. Yeah, the lighting is dim is what I was commenting on earlier in here, for example. So like if I go and bring it into Photoshop, let's do it on the top here. Oop. You're probably gonna make it a nighttime scene. So nighttime scenes get really difficult to do, and it's mainly because you don't have a light source to kind of guide the eye or give you some shadows or interesting depth to spaces. PBR essentially gets really difficult when there's no lights. Yeah, adding a door would do a lot for this. So like even if there was a door on the shed, for example, um, I expect there would be a pathway back here. Like, is this a fence that opens up? I don't understand the logics of the area right now. Hey, thanks, Viral. I don't understand the logic of the space currently, and I think that's probably the number one reason why it's not making too much sense to me. See, there's space here too, so my brain assumes that the building is very short or shallow. This is really bright. It almost feels like a bug where you can see inside of the building because it's matching this a similar brightness to the inside. Maybe a kid place. Maybe. But there's nothing telling me kids either, right? Where did that? There it is. This is really even as well. Usually when it goes up this high, it's gonna like fan out, right? If we copy this and just kind of paste it over here. Oh, nice. Am I getting that problem again? Please don't do this to me. Okay. Not in front of everyone. Please, Photoshop. Please. No, I know it's freaking Windows and the copying of things. Right now, see, right now there's no lighting direction on this, and this is only going to get worse with nighttime. Right? Even if it's nighttime, your moon, you should artificially brighten that moon up to give you some type of lighting direction. But what I want to highlight here is usually if the plant ivy stuff gets like this overgrown, it's gonna get crazy down here and much wider, you know. um yeah, so keep that in mind. Dude, this is a nice noisy surface to just be doing this on. um but yeah, think about scale, think about the logic of the building, how windows end at the top. Like, look at a lot of reference for how these buildings are put together. See, the light is placed high up since the planning. So even a light, even at night, if you place it really high up, you will get really low shadows or like really short shadows, basically shadows that are only straight down, which leads to a really flat, not so interesting lighting scenario, which will basically make all of your materials look flat. There'll be no direction of lighting. Like even nighttime in 3D, you're gonna need the moon to be your sun in a sense, because without it, it's just it's gonna look weird. Last of Us 2 references. Yeah, that's a good call. But I mean, I think right now I just need to understand what the goal is, like compositionally. I need to understand the space better and just be able to go from there. And right now, just the stuff that I highlighted, I think once those are addressed, you'll be in a much better spot. Thanks for sharing as well, though. Yeah, I just finished these yesterday and was hoping you would have some feedback in terms of presentation and the end model itself in terms of topology. Oh, right, the pistol. I saw you working on it. It was pretty cool. Hey, no problem. I hope that was helpful. It felt like sometimes it feels like I'm talking in circles and I don't know if I'm being that helpful or not. So this pistol has an interesting grip there. Is this your 3D model? Nice. Nice. Okay, let's see here. So the details normal wise of this that you have on your model actually make the grip feel really soft. And I think if you lower the strength of that detail, like I feel like it should be a detail, not a detail normal, and not so much following the material. But it kind of seems like it needs to follow the material. I would probably actually lower the normal map information on this handle almost to nothing, and then actually use roughness to separate these elements out. Hey, what's up, Tick? How you doing? Um, don't forget that these are emissive, so those can glow, right? And if those are glowing, I would suggest making your background darker. That way you can really get those glowing bits to pop. Pretty cool model though. Cool design. 3 rounds, huh? Plasma based bullet. It's an S, not a Z. Laser sight, nice. Oh, topology wise. Okay, so did you not, is that the high poly or is that, okay, so no, you just modeled it, right? Am I reading that right? Did you just model it? There isn't a low poly. It's like if there's not a low poly, definitely like work on like getting these details to smooth better. Because it's like if you're going this detailed, there's no reason to have edge counts low enough where you can count them, right? Like it gets pretty low here. You might as well add the geo and smooth it. These little slits on the side for the spinning of the chamber, are they're maybe about twice the thickness of yours. I would fatten those up a little bit. And those look like maybe they line up with the chambers. Yeah, so you can see there should only be 3 of them. And I'm guessing you maybe have like 5 or 6. There's a side view of the yeah, it's either go low or keep the details. And I mean even this low, I would add a little bit more in your low poly to do that, right? So if you're already doing this amount of detail with geometry, then for sure make this higher. The other thing is you have pieces that are just being pushed into the surface in here, which feels strange to me. Like they should actually be modeled in a way where if you're going high poly, you might as well make it look like it's been built, like where that piece is connected and not pushed into the geometry, right? Looking at a lot of the shapes and matching those as close as possible would be good. Trying to see what else we got here. think those are telling you that a round is in the chamber. It's not really illustrated on here because there's 3 divots, and then in each one of these spots there's like a viewing port of the round, essentially. And the round is a plasma based round, so it should be glowing, right? Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would mention is watching out for areas where the geometry is pinching, and really like excel in pushing the geometry to match those curves and the smoothness that you're going for. And then the next thing I would say is your materials. Really like locking down those materials and understanding what they look like and how they flow. Because like this spot right here is flat, I think. Yeah, it's kind of flatter here. And I think in the concept it bulges out more around here. And this part is different from the concept, which is really odd. Like they're both concepts, but it's a little different. Yeah, and then materials and then presentation. Oh, this tells you there's rounds in it? Man, I feel like that's happening with these too. That's interesting. The other thing is the scratches here feel very like when I can identify that from Substance Painter or Substance Designer even, then they're being too arbitrarily added and not being added in a way where it makes sense to where they happen and how the scratch goes across the surface. So keep that in mind as well. Oh man, Costas. Jeremy, I'm just biting the bullet and asking for critique on my latest. Nice, let's go. Let's go. A lot of all this is stone, right? It was a really cool effect. I cannot believe those are all particles. I'm taking this all in because you helped me with computer stuff. We're not skipping around. So first of all, I'd get your video. I would get a thumbnail on it. Watch out for the xenomorphs. So like if you get a thumbnail on this video, it's just gonna look a little bit better on your portfolio. Like if you look at when we go to my post here, man, ArtStation is choking. There's just I just uploaded a thumbnail that fits this square format, just so that it's better than the low res image you see in your preview here, because it basically just grabs a screenshot of the lowest buffer and uses that as a thumbnail. Yeah, poke me if you can't figure it out. I'll show you. It's just adding a thumbnail to the video. This shot. So first of all, we'll look at all these shots. You're showing a lot of shots that I feel like don't matter. Like this shot you don't need unless we needed to know narratively that you were on a ring. And the ring is really low poly, it looks like. I would add a few more loops in there. The grass here is very thin. And lighting wise, it kind of feels like there's no light direction. Like where's the sun? Which direction is it pointing? Where are the cast shadows? That's going to get all these shapes to pop quite a bit more. And I can see there's like, it's really muted, right? When this is all happening, I would expect this whole area to be quite bright and all the shadows being cast out from it. Could there be more emission from the portal? Yeah, I actually expect that portal to be super bright. Like that whole back corner should just be like, someone should almost be exiting a portal of light. And same for up here. It's like it just doesn't feel like we're getting enough lighting information happening. See that the brightness of the light hitting here feels like it's at like 1/10 of the brightness that you would expect, or maybe 1/100th of the brightness that you would expect hitting everything. Let's see what else we're going on here. Yeah, I think a directional light would help a lot. Any other elements around that would help like transition to this portal spot would help. Now the thing I want to comment on the most is the logic of the effect. If this was in a game, right? You're like, okay, it activates. I'm gonna assume that these activate one by one, and then what I see is a long sequence of each of these sections activating one by one, but not really in any direction other than they slowly come up to brightness of doing the pulse, right? So you don't really get a sense of what's happening until about 30 seconds in when you actually make the connection that's occurring. I would actually think that you would want to do something like something where the entire center area powers on, like maybe there's a ring under it, and once that powers on, having lines of light that power on the ring from the center outwards will give you a sense of progression. And then seeing lines that go up the side pillars, going up that, and then all of them just instantly firing a beam into the middle, that would cause the thing to spin, and then you get the ring, and then you see the portal. It just there. I mean, that's just me trying to solve it, but basically the problem is you have to wait too long to get the effect. And see, everything shuts off. Why is everything shutting off and then this turns on? It kind of feels like these need to stay on in order for power to traverse this space here, which I don't think it does. And then it needs to traverse here, go up the ramp, and then this opens up. And then I would hate to be the guy coming out of this portal and then not knowing that there's a step here and then tripping and falling. You know, I just traversed time and space and then I fell on my face. That should probably be on a shirt. I love that you can see another picture in there. But yeah, instead of like a full ramp, I would probably do something like a like if this was the side view of the portal, instead of the ramp doing this, let's do it like that. So this is the side view of the portal. Instead of the ramp doing that, I would probably say you want it to do something like this, and then flatten out again, right? So you have like a little bit of a platform to it. You wanted to indicate a clear transition. Oh, from here to the ramp? Or the effect itself? I mean, if those were going away at the same time as it was filling up to get to the portal, then it would make sense, because then it's like it's all going to somewhere. Because it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It feels like they turn off and then this ramp lights up. But you have to help the viewer make the connection for everything that's happening. The only other thing I think I'd mention is right at the beginning here. You get real close to this model, and I feel like the detail normals aren't tiling enough, or they're too strong and not varied enough. So you could vertex paint between two different detail normals if you wanted to, or give it a different mask. These cracks look like they're decals, but they don't really have the depth that I think you're wanting from them. Because this is probably how I would approach it as well, as like decal on the cracks. And just give it like a parallax occlusion mapping or that depth that you're looking for. That way it really feels chunky. But yeah. And then light direction, so we know where we're at. Is that... It's like really foggy or dusty here. Oh, you can see the rocks too down here. I think the transition of the value of the rocks to the sand, you should match those, at least at the base. And then all the little tinier rocks, try and match them to the ground a little bit more, and then you won't get so much of that the noise difference on the ground. Same with the foliage. I think there's just too much value separation between them. Quantum, let's see. So we've got Tim and we've got Mustafa, and then we're done. We've got 7 minutes, and then War Dog is doing their critiques. We'll just go over and host them. Oh, that's you? Why don't I know that, Quantum? I need to be able to nickname people on here. Ooh, Tim, buddy. This looks cool. This looks really cool. Calling it done. I wouldn't even put this here. Just don't even... Bit more progress. So wait, is this... So... Is this a time... Hang on. You start down here. Ah, I see. So this is like a blog post almost. And see, this is why we need the blog post publishing. Oh, I would love it. Okay. Oh, okay. I recognize that wireframe. Moto. Ooh, yeah, Moto. So, the end result looks pretty cool. It used just a little bit more separation in the differences between the roughness values, but I think it looks pretty rad. It does look a little muted, and the text is really clean on there. And then there's some graffiti over here. Particle Man, what's up, dude? Is that you? Are you? No. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know who is who. Yeah, I feel like the saturation is... I mean, the color is a little bit Tor Frick to me, you know? Maybe that's why you're in here to begin with, in Moto. I would look at adding detail normals on certain material types just to get some separation on there. But I mean, it looks pretty cool. There is some banding happening in the background. This is why it can be a little dangerous to work with gradients. But I like the shadows, and the overall render quality is pretty good. Yeah. This is cool too. You should Matthew O'Halloran should see this one. He would probably dig this quite a bit. But the quality is really nice. Yes, I totally agree with that. Let's see here. Honestly, I don't have too much to say on it. I just would like some different material definitions on some of this stuff. Like, this material is really cool. It's very similar to this one. I think maybe if this one was a little bit more reflective. This feels cool, but it also feels like it was added afterwards. Like, it's not being affected by the lighting or the curve of the shape. And same with this text. Maybe that can be diffused a bit so that it's not so painted on there feeling. Yeah, it's some small Akira sticker. Feels good, man. Sick though, really sick. Maybe this light could be on. Is that light on? Can I paint that? Oh, kinda. Oh no. I'm getting into it, man. This is a cool bike. Is it a bike? I don't even know. What is this rendered in? Substance? Dude, yeah, that's cool. I feel like I need a really high res image of this, man. It looks really nice. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say on it. That glass feels a little weird at the top there. It's got a weird dip in it, or it feels like it's got a weird dip in it. I would try and like smooth that out into one nice flow. Cool. Oh, nice. Oh, this guy's awesome. If you're into scanning, it's got a really good tutorial. Oh, right. Ah, yes. We did some feedback on this before. There's quite a bit of detail in here. It's really nice. We've only got a few minutes. Here, we can, there you go. So with this one, oh, nice. There's a little tear in the fabric there. I don't have too much to say on it other than the ivy feels a little strange, like very samey throughout. Like it doesn't really feel like it's got the logic that you're expecting with the way the leaves are positioned. On the pillar, it looks really good. Maybe the camera needs to be closer. It's like it's very evenly clumped together. Look at those albedo. Let's take a look. Oh, hang on here. You can see the little eyedropper thing on the corner there. So I feel like minus the roof area, everything could probably go up in saturation and value could go down a little bit. Let's see, now we should be sampling a little bit closer to here. Pretty good overall on the ranges though. Yeah. Yeah, it feels just a tad bit washed in the albedo only for the base color. You can see there's not a lot of like elements to grab onto when you look at the shape. You just know it's a brick pillar. Which, I mean, I think that could be fine. I think a lot of it has to do with just the light direction that you chose for this view. If you could get a little bit more shading on one side of this, you would get a better understanding of the surface itself. Yeah, I think the leaves are just too close together. Like they wouldn't overlap that much because they would kill each other if they did. You know what I mean? And the scaffolding that you're showing under the stucco, I would probably keep that around areas where it makes sense instead of evenly painting it in wherever it like just to try and make it even. I would pick areas where it started to wear down and then really like build that out where it happened. This material looks pretty good. I would say maybe some of the bricks are dipping in more than you would expect them to. Like for that to happen, they actually would have had to make the wall poorly to begin with, right? I like the this like angular directions of some of the bricks though. That's a good touch for like breaking up the surface. And the little grout in between being the way that it is. This is nice too. I think if the grout wasn't so often peeking out, oh man, you got a broken one in there too. Oh, that's nice. Um, yeah, if it wasn't as consistent with how much of it was leaking out, I think it would look better. This one, maybe the grain of the normal, or the grain of the wood is too strong than normal. So it's like really crunchy. This one's nice, though the pieces of wood look like they're kind of rounded, or they're bowing. They're kind of like this curved, this dip curve like this. Like they probably should be a little bit more flat. This is a nice material. Maybe some value or saturation breakup. Nice. Yeah. I think it's a lot of like finite things to adjust and fix. But yeah, I think the main things that are sticking out to me are just the stuff I mentioned with the material painting and then how close these leaves are together. But you guys, we got through all of them, and it is 10 o'clock. It's 10:04. I think it is time. Really nice stuff from everyone for sure. It was really good. And I'll try and grab out that thumbnail that we did of the material. No, thank you. Stick around. Say hey to the War Dogs. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday, where we're gonna start blocking out the scene for the aliens nest, if you will. But yeah, let's how do we do this? Raid, right? Raid. There it is. Cool. All right. I will see you guys later. I'll see you on Monday. Peace.